like a character who's so objectively good, but people but like they can't see it themselves. So like this idea of like they have this
Hello, CFTA. Woo! It is Friday. Woohoo! Oh, taking it to a level 10. Do you know that the Blue Jays game is on tonight?
What are those people?
I know.
I don't even know what baseball is.
I know.
Are we gonna get score updates?
No, I'm not a sports fan anymore. All I heard was there's a Tiger Cats game and a Blue Jays game, and then there's the Right On Right Now. Woo!
Yay, sports!
So I'm here to make the house announcements. As some of you know, we have alcohol. We've had our license for a month. So help yourselves. George is the only one with a license, so he may double up as video switcher and bartender and food server and performer
And bouncer.
/ bouncer. The Swiss Army knife of CFTA. We have shirts, CFTA shirts. We have our mascot, Fame Mouse. He's on there. If that represents you, and yeah, play on Fame, Mouse. It's kind of cute, like most of you. Aww. And what else do we have? We have a camera in this vestibule here. It is running, recording all the time throughout the entire event. If you have the compulsion to say something about the night, your experience, about a shout out to a loved one or a friend, feel free to do that, and then we will pick out whatever we find and then ask you if we can post it online. So you have that option. Speaking of video, if any of you do not want your video recorded, your performance recorded or streamed, simply write opt-out on the sign-up sheet, and we will kill the audio on the stream and put a title card saying performer requests not to be shown. Simple as that. But if you're cool with it, then you can check yourself out after the show on our YouTube channel, Center for Talking Arts. Yeah. Also, if you'd like to buy your set, it's only $10. It's a 5-camera setup, professionally shot, high-definition video cameras, state-of-the-art, with a live switcher over there. Oh, Eamon's manning the station now. Yes. Okay. Our social media. Who here follows us on Instagram? Yay. So it's at CFTA, Center for Talking Arts. We mainly use that platform to inform everyone of our events. In terms of time limit, Jen, what do you think? We keep it a maximum of 7-8 minutes?
Yeah, unless you come and talk to me beforehand. I've had people come and talk to me who'd like to do a little bit longer. But,
Okay. So Jen requests that you speak to her first if you feel your set will go on more than 8 minutes. What else? Talking thing? That's it.
if you hit the
Sorry?
12-minute mark, you're going to get a red light.
Oh yeah, you can do that on stage. I'm going to give you your formal introduction. Ready, Jen? So, if you don't already know, Jen is not only lovable, she's quite deep. She's Hamilton's own author and performer, and you'll get a sense of her as your host for tonight. Please give a warm round of applause to Jen Frankel.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Jen, and this is Right On Right Now. So this is This began as an open mic in Toronto, but it was too good for Toronto, so I decided to bring it to Hamilton. Brought it right down the 401 all the way down the 403 all the way down to Hamilton. We've been running here since when did we start this? Was it April, May, somewhere around there? Yeah, in the spring. So you guys are still a member of a very select group of people who've been able to come out to one of these events. The Right On Right Now is just predicated on the notion that everybody's got something creative in them, and everybody's got something to say, and if you have a place to trot out what you have and share it with other people, it's just a really beautiful thing to be able to share your creativity with other people. I love being able to share my creativity with other people, and I love being able to put other people on stage and see what they've got in them, because it's always exciting, it's always surprising. Welcome, welcome. The sign-up list is at the bar, and so we're heading up to the scary season of the year, that being Halloween, not Christmas. Christmas is a pretty scary time of the year too, but I thought I would bring a ghost story. How many people know what a poltergeist is? Yeah, that's right. So there's actually a very famous poltergeist in Britain that it seemed a little saucy to me that the poltergeist went by the name of Donald. Apropos of nothing, of course. Just thought it was kind of amusing that the poltergeist was named Donald, and knowing that, I ended up inspired to write a whole story about a poltergeist named Donald. So there's I'm not going to give you any background for the story really, except for that, just that it tends to be teenage girls that take the brunt of the the trouble when there's a poltergeist around. And I always think about, we were talking earlier, I was with Kara about Stephen King and Joe Hill and some of the great young girl poltergeist or young girl supernatural effect stories that have come out of that, those writers. I think of like Firestarter or Carrie. Teenage girls really take a lot of shit in stories, in horror stories. This is called The Damage You Wreak. He comes in the night. Even when he doesn't, I lie awake expecting him. Is he a poltergeist? All evidence, such as it is, would suggest, though, objects are thrown, noises are heard, scratches appear. It's textbook. And as usual, the teenage girl is blamed. In this case, 15-year-old Charlotte, my little sister. It's feeding on you like you're its battery, says the paranormal psychologist, a middle-aged man with a lean physique and the kind of height that makes men as confident as supermodels. I am the middle child, a teen too, but almost 18, with any number of complexes about height, weight, popularity, about wanting to be, as a writer once said, famous but invisible. I envy my younger sister Charlotte for commanding so much attention while simultaneously pitying her. I want to trade places with her, but only on alternate days. The newspapers take her picture. Our eldest sister, Jocelyn, says she looks chubby, a kind of calculated insult she immediately justifies. Mom said it first, she complains when I give her a dirty look. We call you Donald, and we can't help talking to you, even though every investigator, scientific or spiritual, has warned us not to engage. We try, or at least I do. I don't want to make things worse. Neither does Charlotte, I guess, but sometimes she's just oblivious. It's like she forgets and rushes into the house squealing with joy or outrage, prompting Donald to hurl a dish or knock the Coke bottle I'm drinking from off the table, to remind her that she must underwhelm his presence or he'll make her. I keep my thoughts to myself. My terror, too, when Donald begins rapping on the wall deep in the night, the tap, 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 working its way along to my headboard. Sometimes he keeps going until I can feel a vibration right inside my pillow. I lie, too terrified to move, far too terrified to call out until, inevitably, Charlotte screams out that he's in her bed. Then the spell is broken. I can move, but I still say nothing. Some nights I don't even rush to her side anymore. Sometimes none of us do. I imagine she must be experiencing what I am, so I won't even say she's lying, but I don't understand how she attracts at least some sympathy. How can no one guess it's happening to me too? The parapsychologist with the judging eyes and smug lips still has his hand on Charlotte's shoulders, bending down as if to deliberately block out the light above her. I suddenly can't take it anymore. This denial of attention I don't want anyway, this sense Charlotte will be special as long as she's being attacked, and that I, in contrast, could be lying on the floor, bleeding from scratches even deeper than the ones Donald left on my back last week, and no one would notice. Or if they did, perhaps my mother, or Jocelyn, would groan and mutter, "Knock it off, Emily." I can't take it anymore. So I slap the whatever meter out of the man's hands. I don't care that its glass dial shatters when it hits the kitchen tiles. It's no use talking to any of them, my sisters, the professionals, or our mother. It's not possible to talk to our father, whose work hours have gotten longer and longer the longer Donald has been in residence. I say the only thing I've wanted to for months. Donald, fuck right off and never come back. You are not welcome here. I expect a barrage of China, or maybe another episode of the poor cat rising into the air, fur electric. But there's silence. Donald is gone. I know it as surely as I know I've done the first true thing in my life. Jocelyn is stunned, staring at me like the others, but with the same mixture of envy and pity I've felt for Charlotte. Em, where did he go? She knows he's left forever, too. Fuck knows, I say, reveling in the profanity. For once, no one is telling me how a lady acts, what a lady believes, how a lady speaks. Come on, Char, let's get out of here. I take my little sister's hand, shoot the paranormal psychologist the dirtiest, angriest look I can, and leave the house of horrors. Where are we going? Charlotte asks. And I think it's funny. I haven't really thought this through, so I don't have an answer. But wherever it is, it's got to be better than here. Thank you. Check out the Enfield Haunting. It's the case that this is based on, and there's been a couple of pretty good television shows and movies based on it, if you like that kind of thing. Please join me in welcoming our next reader for the evening. This is a friend who's going to do a slightly long... Oh, you think I might need this? Before we go on, I'm going to turn things back over to Dexter to make an announcement. Yes?
Hey everyone, I forgot to mention, we're streaming this live, by the way. Our beloved founder of CFTA could not be here tonight. He is starting a fake cult. I'm not sure if some of you are aware of this. It's a great game where we play a business, and this cult needs followers and functions to operate. And this November 1st is the meeting, and Jake will give an apocalyptic sermon. So, he's going to play fake cult leader. It'll be a fun time. Check it out on Instagram. And back to Jen.
There's also fake coin cryptocurrency that's caught up with the fake cult, so you can actually earn fake cryptocurrency if you join the fake cult. I have joined. I am a charter member of the fake cult, and and have been earning as much fake coin as I possibly can. Oh, are you giving out fake coin? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So just for being here tonight, you've got your own fake cryptocurrency.
How much is it not worth?
It's worth nothing. And everything. It's actually destined to have a real worth at some point. So I'd hang on to it. Could be worth something. So please join me in welcoming our first reader for the evening. This is a friend of mine who's recently put out a book. He'll tell you about it, I'm sure. But it's a book set in a town that kind of loves Halloween. And I think he's going to be reading one of the stories from that book. So please join me in welcoming our first reader for the evening, Steve Bernardi. You stand?
Hi everyone, my name is Steve. So I'm going to be reading from one of my short stories called Vermilion Moon. Now, tell me if this premise is familiar to any of you. There is a monster loose in the town, and wouldn't you know it, the only ones who can do anything about it are a group of plucky kids. There's a little bit of Stranger Things, a little bit of Hocus Pocus, a little bit of Stephen King's It. So in this particular story, 4 friends have accidentally woken up Beldam, which in this context is an evil undead witch. So they've set out to stop it. They're afraid no one will believe them, so they're going to take care of it themselves. They've whipped up a concoction of silver and holy water and other good anti-witch things and loaded into water guns, and they've set out one night late into October hoping to stop it. Now, because they're aware of what kind of story they're in, what they're not aware of is there's a twist on the premise, which is that there's a second monster, completely unrelated monster that the reader is aware of, but they are not aware of. So we're catching up with the 4 kids just as they're on their way to go, hopefully, stop the Beldam. It's quiet, Rhonda observed, scanning the strip mall for signs of trouble. A man behind the counter of a convenience store glared at them warily through the front windows. Too quiet, chuckled Nathan. I've always wanted to say that. With everything that's been going on, said Cole, people probably don't want to be out at night, even this early. Guys, chimed Leslie. They followed her eye line to a small building next door. In a window on the 2nd floor, a light was flickering wildly. It was a power station of some kind. The whole property was surrounded by a chain-link fence, but the padlock on the front gate had been broken and thrown to the ground. A gray sedan was idling out front over 3 parking spaces, with one wheel up on the curb. The witch has its driver's license, said Nathan. Could be one of the Beldam's victims, Cole guessed. Oh, Leslie moaned. Maybe we shouldn't be here. Cole was right. We can tell the police. We're going inside, Rhonda declared. Once we find her, I'll put this iron horseshoe we got from the Pioneer Village in the doorframe. The book said she won't be able to cross it that way. Just to be safe, I'll pour a ring of salt around us, too. Once we're protected, we blast her with the anti-Beldam spray. Everyone nodded their uncertain approval before heading inside. Every door or gate they encountered had been opened, some simply unlocked, but others looked like they had been forced. There were safety signs everywhere, warning them about the dangers of proceeding without hard hats and proper protective equipment, something that made all of them uneasy. They carried up on a flight of stairs and down a hallway, at the end of which flickered the light that led them here. "All right, guys, this is it," said Rhonda. The group pumped their water guns in preparation, and Rhonda tossed the horseshoe into the doorframe from a safe distance. She regretted the clang it made when it landed and the flickering stopped. "Go!" Rhonda wailed. She didn't even look in the room, focusing on making sure the salt ring was unbroken. The rest saw inside, a room filled with large humming machines that had dials and switches. Standing inside was a single figure, a pale, middle-aged man wearing dark blue coveralls. He stared at them blankly, and though they all wanted to pretend they hadn't seen it, his eyes had a subtle green glow. "Now!" Rhonda roared after completing the circle. They sprayed him mercilessly, and his disgusted reaction made them believe their plan was working. After 20 seconds of constant dousing, they lost water pressure and had to pump again. During this time, the man approached the door and looked down at the horseshoe. "The witch probably shapeshifted to blend in," Rhonda wheezed, exhausted by the effort it took to charge her gun. "But it can't cross the door. We're almost there." And then the man stepped out of the room towards them. "No!" Leslie shouted. The salt will protect us," Rhonda stuttered. "Get ready to fire again." Still wearing a blank expression, the man lunged across the barrier and picked up Nathan by his throat with one hand, the boy's water gun crashing to the floor. "Nathan!" his sister cried. Cole attempted to grab their attacker, not really sure what his plan was beyond that, but the man gave him a hard shove in the chest that knocked him down and sent him sliding across the floor into a wall. "Well, this is interesting," said the man as he squeezed Nathan's neck. "You brats think I'm that creature that's been terrorizing the town?" You're not?" Rhonda replied. "Let go of my brother!" screamed Leslie. "This body's name is Alan Gaunt," said the man, "but my name is Curtis Walker. I don't suppose you've heard of me?" The group, minus Nathan, shook their heads. "Typical. Whisper Falls never did know how to educate its youth. All right, you precocious ragamuffins, I'm on a tight schedule, so we'll skip the formalities and cut right to the chase. Ghosts are real, the afterlife is real, and so is hell." Curtis emphasized the last word by making his eyes glow more intensely, and the kids screamed. "And a long time ago, your stupid and deceitful forefathers sent me there. So now I have one chance to make this town pay. Thanks to the technical know-how and weak mental fortitude of Alan here, I have the perfect way to make that happen." "The power surges," Cole groaned as he struggled to get up off the floor. "That's your doing, whatever you're planning." "Poor Alan here hasn't been okay for years, so worn down by grief and regret. He's hardly fighting back in here, his heart's that spent. But that will just make it easier for me to overload the Whisper Falls power grid. Look at me, using words like power grid. I've become so modern already." "You can't do that," Rhonda shouted. "Our infrastructure would collapse," said Cole. "Hospitals would be helpless. Food couldn't be refrigerated." "Hospitals, grocery stores," Curtis echoed with maniacal glee. "No traffic lights or telecommunication devices either. The cells at the prison up on the hill would all unlock at once, not to mention all the fires and explosions that would happen in such a short span of time. It's really too perfect. This Halloween is sure to be one Whisper Falls won't forget." "Not if," Nathan coughed, "not if I kick your ass first." "Oh, you're not making it out of tonight alive," said Curtis. The emotion in his voice had been fluctuating until now, but he said that completely deadpan, like it was a fact and not an idle threat, and that terrified them more than if he had been howling and snarling. When he started to walk away, still choking Nathan, they were too paralyzed to react. "Stop!" Leslie shrieked when Curtis was halfway down the stairs. "I've caused a fair bit of other mischief, you know," said the ghost as Rhonda, Cole, and Leslie gave chase. "The power grid needs to be undermined gradually. That way no busybodies notice until it's too late. So along the way, I've smashed a few windows, thrown a few pets into the creek when no one was looking. But I think Whisper Falls is wicked and worthless and rotten enough that it deserves something special. A dead kid in town square would be just grand, don't you agree?" Leslie and Cole threw themselves at the body of Alan Gaunt as it walked outside with Nathan, who was starting to go blue in the face. Neither of them was particularly big or strong for their age, though, and Rhonda was still too stunned to do anything more than follow. When they reached the front gate, Curtis froze the way a deer does when it hears a twig snap in the forest. Something was off, and eventually the kids sensed it too. "You stupid brats!" he shouted before dropping Nathan. "The streets are deserted. 4 unescorted children are like a beacon for the beast. This brought Rhonda to her senses. She followed Curtis's vision to a streetlight that flickered at the far edge of the parking lot. Now that she was just focusing on it, she could see a crooked figure standing just beyond the glow. It took a cogent step forward, then another. Then the horrible thing they had woken up deep in the woods was less than 20 feet away from them. Leslie began to cry and covered her eyes as she reached a hand out where she thought her brother was. Nathan wheezed, the color slowly returning to his face. Curtis let out an inhuman wail from his stolen mouth before leaping into the driver's seat of the sedan. He left so fast that the tires made skid marks on the road. Rhonda, meanwhile, stood transfixed. Whatever quirks she possessed that had made her suspect all her life that she thought she may be a witch, they were working in overdrive this week. She could tell when things were going to happen before they happened. Not world-changing occurrences, but little things that nevertheless couldn't be ignored. Her empathy was higher, people's moods being easier to read than a newspaper. Even her dreams were more vivid, too complex to completely interpret, but giving her enough of a lead to aim her and her friends in the right direction when it came to their mission. It was as if there was something in the air supercharging all that was uncanny in her, and that something was connecting her to Fairuza now. She could feel her body in the parking lot, but Rhonda's other senses were in the beldam's mind. She saw so much, like the witch had twice as many feelings in place of thoughts, and all of them were angry. None of it was sequential, starting with first-hand experience of her barbaric execution centuries ago, followed by a scene of Fairuza in prison while her children renounced her. Pain, betrayal. She spent so long on the ground, rotting, being absorbed by the roots in the earth, turning the roots in the earth black with her hate, waiting, so much waiting. The image that lasted the longest was the waterfall that gave Whisper Falls its name, which began to flood with rain, drowning everything around it before the water turned to blood. Cole was the first one to notice that Rhonda's eyes had turned white. Though it pained him to look directly at the beldam, when he put together what was happening, he didn't hesitate to spray it with the only remaining water gun. The beldam's skin hissed, but the witch herself let out a pained noise that didn't sound like any natural being on earth. It was enough to sever the connection with Rhonda, who fell to her knees and vomited up her hamburger. She could still feel remnants of Fairuza in her mind, but when she looked back to the street light, the witch was gone. Cole helped Rhonda to her feet, and Leslie helped her brother. They rode their bikes home in silence, nobody sure what to say. On the way, a raindrop hit Rhonda on the head, a seemingly insignificant event that portended something awful. And that's all you get for tonight. If you want... Vermilion Moon is the final story in my short story collection, Whisper Falls, A Town That Dreaded Halloween. That's 7 original short stories, all taking place in the same town, all about the wonderful and horrible things that happen on Halloween. It is available most places where you can get literature. I do have a few copies on me tonight if anyone's interested in getting one. So thank you all for listening. Hope you have a happy Halloween.
Just get so much and no more, no more. Thank you, Steve. Can we have another round of applause for Steve? It's great. I'm always been somebody who loves Halloween myself, and I feel like the last few years I haven't been able to. Actually, I think since COVID, I don't feel like I've had as many good Halloween experiences as I'd like to. But last year was the very first time I've been able to actually have my door open and kids coming for trick-or-treating. It's the first time I've actually had a house that I was living in my entire life since I was a kid, where kids could come in and trick-or-treat. I actually can't wait for trick-or-treating to come. I'm excited about next Friday. So yeah, it's like just to think about Christmas. Christmas. There I go again. Halloween. Next performer is a CFTA stalwart, and also the guy who's going to be serving you your booze if you want some. So just please join me in big welcome for George.
Some people can only poop in their house. Odd statement. It's getting somewhere. But that's something I notice about people, and it blows my mind. Like I can only poop in my house until I took it in the bigger scheme of things, and that's what I'm getting at. I'm a very strong control freak. I love being in control of everything, right? If I am doing something at home, things have to go in the exact same place at the exact same time, like with the exact same order. And if it's not, I freak out. But also, I'm a people's person. I work with a lot of people. I'm a filmmaker, so I end up being on set with 30, 40 people. And managing that amount of people is such a blessing, but it's also such a curse for somebody who has my brain, because I end up learning early on, within the first few minutes, that I cannot control everybody and I shouldn't. So I let go. And by letting go, I become the person who can only poop at their house. Because now, my control freakiness, I leave it for the house. And this has led to, you know, some clashes between me and my wife, because my wife is like Storm, not the superhero. She's like a storm. Like if you, like I get why they call it Katerina, like female names. Like the next storm or hurricane should be called Celeste after my wife, because she wreaks havoc everywhere, you know. But I learned to love that. Because in a way, it's her way of saying, I love you, take care of it. So it's fucked up, I know. It's a fucked up kind of love, but I like that about it, that the fact that she's comfortable enough to be herself, because she knows I'm making everybody uncomfortable being myself. So as I said, I like to have things set in a certain way. And it's because I've always lived with other people around me. So in apartment buildings or in compounds. So I always never really had the choice. Until recently, when I bought my first house, my wife and we bought it because she said so. I had no say in it. Like, I'll show you how different we are, my wife and I. She was looking at house listings. I was looking at Lego sets. So that will show you the difference between men and women, if anything. And we bought the house, and you know, as you do when you're taking care of the house and cleaning and doing stuff. Now I live on a street, on a corner lot, and I don't have much control over what's happening around my house. So very often, and I'm a neat freak, I would get out, and if I see a leaf, I would pick it up, you know, put it in a bag, and like everything should be immaculate. Until recently, I started finding more and more some trash flew in, right? Like a tissue paper or a Tim Hortons cup or whatever, just on the side of my lawn. And I would get pissed because it's like, that's mine, how dare you ruin it, right? But with time, I started learning to accept that and to actually just treat it with the amount of mental stress that it requires, which is, okay, I saw it, I should pick it up, throw it, and that's it. And I figured that my problem is not the fact that I find trash on my lawn, it's the fact that people are throwing it there. If it was a tree, I'm all for it. Like, the tree probably shits on my lawn more than a human ever will. But here I am, getting pissed at an actual human who probably made a mistake. And when I started thinking about it this way, it became a kind of a Zen moment for me. It no longer became something I'm angry at. It no longer became something that I cannot control that. It became something like, I cannot control that. I'll just pick it up. And much like people who only poop in their house, I know it's a lot of poop in this story that I'm telling, but it taught me really that it doesn't matter how much you clench your butt. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And that was my story, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Another round of applause for George. It's funny, I never thought about how difficult a corner lot is, but yeah, you're talking about like two streets. Yeah, because it's the house that I'm in is set back just a little bit from the road, like just far enough back enough that I feel like I've got this like little bit of a buffer between me and between my house and the road. And I think that I like it. I think that I really appreciate having that there. It just stops me from having to think too much about people walking across in front of my lawn. Our next performer tonight is a gentleman that I have had the pleasure of hearing a couple of times now, and I love the fact that I have no idea what he's going to do. No idea whatsoever. Does he? He doesn't have any idea what he's going to do. Please join me in welcoming a surprise, Eamon.
Keep it going for Jen, everyone. So, George speaks like someone who works for themselves, because when you work in an office and you're paid to poop, then you will poop outside of your house. There is an app called Paid to Poop where you can calculate how much time you spend and how much, yeah. Actually, a person got fired because they talked about that app because their work were like, oh, so you're... Anyways, as Jen was mentioning, I have two ideas of what I want to talk about, and I'll leave the choice to you. I can either shoot from the hip and tell you something that happened yesterday, or I can read you an article that fits into where I am in my life right now that I wrote 10 years ago.
Yesterday.
Yesterday? Article? Okay. All those in favor of the article, put your hands up. 1, 2, 3. All those in favor of shooting from the hip? Yeah. Okay. So, yesterday was comedy night, and being a, I won't say pillar, because I'm the crutch that CFTA relies on. I'm not a pillar. I was not here yesterday. And the reason is because of the little gentleman sitting in the corner over there, my son. Now, we moved to Canada 3 years ago, and one of the things that I was looking forward to was exploring, like learning more about myself and learning more about my son. In his last year in kindergarten, before we left Kuwait, he took part in a play at school, and the role that they gave him, it was a song called When I Grow Up. And the role that they gave him was actor. So his lines were, when I grow up, I'm going to be an actor. And I liked his performance. Be quiet. I liked his performance, to the point where on Instagram 3 years ago, I saw an ad. And I know what you're thinking. You're not supposed to follow these ads because they're most likely to be scams. But I said, why not? It was an ad for child actors. If you think your child has talent, please bring them to this hotel at this time. It sounds very suspicious when I say it out loud in front of people, but yes. So long as I was there with him, I was okay. I wasn't sending him there on his own. So I took him there. He did a performance in front of a bunch of people. There were a lot of kids there. And they said, if we like your kid, we will give you a call to come back tomorrow. And if we don't, then just keep trying and, well, so I said, I did my part, that's it. I believed in his talent. We got the call. So we go the next day. And that's when my internal auditor brain kicks in, because that's when the pitch came. And they said, for this much money, we will do this. and for this much money, we will do that. Now, as I mentioned, I came here from the Middle East, and we don't like to waste money. But when it came to him, I was like, you know what? Let's go for it. Let's pay this amount, not this one right here, and I'll risk him going into acting. And we spent like 2-3 weeks going to auditions, learning how to walk on a catwalk, how to do pictures. He got headshots done. And then they said, we're going to put him in front of talent agents. And if they like him, they will sign him. And lo and behold, he went in front of a talent agent, and he was signed on immediately. Now, it took 1 year of auditions, of me fighting with an incessant 6-year-old who would never stand still in front of a camera, to film an audition to send to people to see if he is, screen-worthy. And 1 year later, he got his first role. This past February, he was in an ad for IDRF Hide and Seek. If you go onto YouTube, you will find his face. And then it just kept going. He got another role, and just yesterday, we were shooting in Pickering. It is very far. And it was very cold. But I will never forget that I signed an NDA, so I can't say what exactly he was doing there until the ad comes out. But I will never forget that when he was reading his lines, I almost teared up because of the performance that he was putting on. So I am glad that as his father, I got to invest down here to see him rise up here. Thank you very much.
Round of applause. Congratulations. That's great. So you'll have to, next time you'll have to come back after the ads aired and let us know what it was all about. Oh, don't tell us yet. That's exciting. Please join me in welcoming our next performer for the evening. I'm really excited to have him back too, Vikas. Is he on those? Oh yeah.
Thank you. So this is my second time here for the story night performing. My name is Vikas. As you can see, I'm an Indian. No, that's the fact, actually. So I want to talk about something which we see too much in Canada nowadays. Indians. Yeah. Trust me, if you toss a stone in the air, it will definitely hit an Indian. No matter what. So, but no, that's nothing funny. We are going to be serious today. And I am going to read from my mobile because my English is not that good. Cool. So, when I first came to Canada, I'll just talk about Indians, right? How they are and how they behave. People complain that Indians, they smell bad, they are very rude, they don't hold the doors, they don't have the etiquettes and all those things. They don't have good food. And I was like, no, that's not true. Our food is awesome. That's true. Our food is, like, my favorite food is Indian. And my second favorite food is Indian. Yeah, so when I came here, I was like a stranger to this country. I knew nobody. But still, there was one Indian guy, who came at the airport to pick me up. I never knew him, never met him. We just talked. He was my colleague, actually, and we just talked over Teams on office meetings, and that's it. Still, he was there. He did not expect anything from me. He took me from airport to his house. I stayed there for a couple of nights. He helped me settle down. He helped me with everything, just out of friendship, because we were from the same country. That's it. That's how Indians are. Even if you will go to airport today, you will see lots and lots of Indians waiting for somebody. And if you'll ask who they're waiting for, it's not their relatives. Somebody's waiting for their neighbor. Somebody's waiting from someone from their village, some cousin, distant relative, friends. Like we don't show it, but we help people. Like we are rude because it's not nature, but we can't help it. But we are very polite within the core. But what else? People say that we are always in hurry. But that's not our fault again. We come from a country of 1.5 billion. If we are not in hurry, we will lose all the races. Like no matter how unique things you're doing, there are thousands of people doing the same thing, maybe for way cheaper. So you have to be very fast. Like we cut the line. I have seen it. We cut the line, we drive crazy, and still we are always late. I don't know for what reason. Yeah. But that's inbuilt actually. We can't help it. We have to do it because that's how we grew up, right? Next thing is smell thing. George made a joke actually, not yesterday. He asked that why Indian people smell. Because then blind people can hit them too. But George. But no, I'll call it it's called the smell of hard work actually. You see, there is a reason we are stealing all your jobs. Because we are, right? And all the employers want us for some reason. Because we are very hardworking. And see, we don't have cushion in this country. If we do not work, we'll sleep hungry, we'll not have any place to go to. So we just have one goal, to work hard. And that's what we do. There was something else in here as well. So that's not the body odor, that's the smell of survival. Okay, then comes the sorry, my bad. I have too much things here. Okay, the last thing is that family and parents, people, you might have heard that we live with our parents live with us. It's the other way around, we live with them because they are too loaded. Indian parents are too loaded, you know. Yeah, if you don't agree, just look at all the convenience store nearby you. It's all owned by Indians. So it's basically because, as he was talking about that, how he feels about his child, we feel about our parents when they are old. Like they have taken care of us when we were young. So now it's our job to take care of them when they are old and not able to do certain sort of things. So we keep them with us. It's blessing too. And we respect our olds. That's why we don't have that many old homes in India. Yeah, that's a very good thing which I like about India. We are very poor, but we respect our elders too much. And I'll close with this one that we are loud, we are rich in chaos, we smell sometimes bad, but we try hard to help this country grow. And I try to be the good Indian. I try to hold the door. I try to smell better. I try to be following. Yeah, I try to follow all the things which makes our Indian image better in your eyes. But even if somebody fails, again, I'm sorry. You can take Indian out of India, but you can't take India out of an Indian. So thank you so much.
That was awesome. Yeah, I heard that. It's funny. I think about different cultures. I always loved traveling in Britain, and I always found that in Wales, especially, people were always asking me about Canada and thinking that they knew somebody that I knew. I remember being on a bus through the middle of Wales in the middle of the night, and the bus driver was like, he kept saying that he he was absolutely certain that I would know his friend, his mother's friend, and he just wanted to go. And so he actually ended up pulling the bus over in the middle of the night and going to a phone box, because it was back in the old phone box days, and come back on the bus and said to me, I asked my mother, and she says, he's from Alberta. Had to just apologize and say, yeah, I don't know anybody from Alberta. I'm sorry. That's just, I'm just imagining like somebody coming from India and actually just finding somebody, meeting them at the airport. That just seems like such a beautiful blessing, such a beautiful thing to do for somebody else just because they're from your same country. Kind of love that. Please join me in welcoming our next performer for the evening. This is a woman who's been back a couple of times. I'm so happy. Please join me in welcoming Shelley.
Hello, everyone. I have a confession to make before I just read my quick script, because usually I have these things memorized. I sat down at 3 o'clock and thought, holy crap, I gotta write a story for tonight. And so then I started writing. I was on my 7th page. I'm like, okay, now we're talking, like, you need to keep writing, but you also need to put this into a cohesive format so that someday it's chapters. So we'll see. I mean, I might have a lot of writing to do. So, as you know, some of you have known Mike Durbecker and I have spoken about living in small towns, and we both lived in a small section of Ontario that's very, very white, very Baptist. And some of these stories are from my times of living there. I've talked about 2 special people that were from that town. Not because their stories are that much different than anyone who lives in a city, but because in a small town, you just can't hide these things, right? You just can't hide who you are. Everyone starts to know who you are, and everyone knows your story. Everyone knows your business. So on that note, I start. So this story is about small town life, but it's important, before I start, for you to realize that this life is mostly gone. Small towns now have the internet and the horrors of Tim Hortons. But there was a time, all we had was a lucky night of somehow dialing in CKOC and getting the top 40 hits by some dude named Hollywood Harris. And this is that time. As kids, we spent a lot of time searching for money. There was nothing to do. There was no TV. We didn't have cable. If you wanted to dial in, you were up there with the rotor, turning it around, hoping that the wind wouldn't catch it the wrong way. So we were out biking around. We were searching for money. So, what you primarily look for? Beer bottles, pop bottles. That was in the days when pop bottles had money, were worth money. You hang out at the car wash waiting for some dude who'd reach in his pocket for change for a car wash, drop a 20 on the ground. That was like the best day. That was like pop and chips and chocolate bars for everyone in the group. But the bonus was when you're looking for money, you'd find pornography. Not the tame penthouse hide under my dad's bed with polite political articles, but the wild stuff. Naked men. I'm telling you, there were naked men, not the ones like in the Bible with snakes artfully intertwined around them, but they were real. And the other thing that really strikes me is my small-town memories of hints of religious animosity. And I guess we see that in the city, but it was smaller scale, no Catholics would go into the Orange Hall for the bake sale because that was the Orange Hall, And, the Knights of Columbus would have a bake sale, but no one from the Orange Hall would go in there. No way would no one go in there. And how we would think of the Catholic kids who went to the public school near us, as the others. And then all of a sudden, grade 9, well, they were our best friends. You know, here they were. They were our classmates. I never seen these people before, and suddenly they'd been living in my town for 8 years, and I didn't even know. And then lots of whispered comments, because I was Baptist, about the local priest who not only drank and played cards, but he danced. Clear proof of our moral superiority as Baptists. I met him later as a teen at an Oktoberfest dance, Ein Prosit, playing incessantly, at least 5 times. And he was actually a really fun guy and a great priest. I have to say his community loved him. So you start to get a sense that because you would know people and everyone knew everyone, that you would get, like I said, their individual stories. And there's lots of oddballs in a small town, and they really stick out because, you know, everyone else is trying really hard to conform. So anyone who didn't try to conform, they were really noticed. But really, no one judged them. They just sort of whisper aside, people would just nod and go on their way. Oh, yes, he did such and such, but he's fine. He's a good guy. They called him different or off. And there was always talk. There's no room for differences in a small town. Like I said, everyone has to conform or try to conform. But there was currents of not conforming that wasn't at the basic level. You'd have to dig underneath. So these are the 2 women that come to mind, that of all the people I wrote about today, that come to mind as being somewhat very different in a small town. So the first person I want to talk about, her name was Shirley. And she was from a wealthy Jewish family, and they ran a very well-known Ontario clothing business in this small town. And I worked for Shirley. She was born and raised in my town. She had been raised Catholic by her parents who had survived Nazi concentration camps. I think that they decided that raising her Catholic was probably the best insurance policy they had against another fascist regime coming. And they seemed to be very well aware that such a fascist regime would return. But at age 21, she was carefully married off to a Toronto man also of Jewish background. And so I was 14, and I worked for her as the chief ironer of her husband's and her son's high-end dress shirts. To this day, I can iron a perfect pleat in a sleeve. And while I worked, she told me about her husband's mistresses, or mistress, because he seemed to have one at a time. At least he kept up to that. To my, at first, shocked Baptist ears, this was a revelation. Being married and happy, your husband was cheating on you? What kind of sorcery was this? But I understood well that she made happiness where she could. She was down to earth and very honest about the various mistresses her husband had. And it was a lot. He had a lot of mistresses. The second woman I want to talk about is Edna. And Edna was a really interesting case because prior to her husband passing away, she never came in our restaurant. And my parents owned a restaurant, so you get to know people's stories through the restaurant. They come in and they talk, right? Her husband, when he was well, said that she was very ill and she couldn't leave the house. She could barely leave her bed, he said. But courageously, she managed to play the organ at my church. And she was really a mouse of a woman. She never said a word. She would not speak to anyone. She just played the organ and go home. Her husband was a larger-than-life man. He was a former fire chief. He was 6'7", and he was quite wealthy, but very miserly. He wouldn't lend her spend a dime. But then suddenly one day he dropped dead. And everyone was like, oh my God, like what's gonna happen to her? She's like, she's ill. What's she gonna do? Well, suddenly we saw Edna everywhere. She went and bought a fancy red sports car. She went out for lunch every day. She got her hair done. She started traveling the world. It was clear she was burning every penny he never let her have and using every bit of time to live a life previously unlived. She was always with a female friend who traveled with her, and Edna always paid. She lived this way until she passed in her 70s. Probably she had a good 10 years of living exactly how she wanted to. But the organ? Who was playing the organ? Well, Edna was running across the globe. Well, it wasn't her. As soon as he was buried, she quit. She confided to me over her freshly poured coffee. She hated that damn thing. Edna, I hated that organ too. Thank you.
So you got to tell me, is that Arthur, Ontario?
Ontario.
Really?
I should change the names if I ever do publish.
Well, I just know that.
Arthur would know who they are.
The weird thing is that I have a weird connection to Arthur, Ontario. No, because I knew this. I knew this through Mike. I didn't know that you had the connection there too.
Yes.
But that's where my dad grew up. Part of his life there. His parents ran the railroad restaurant. Yeah, at the CN or the CP. I guess the CN.
Oh, at the old train station.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
That was closed when I got there, but that's quite amazing.
Yeah. So that was my dad, and he would have been. He probably would have been on your radar if you'd been around the same time he was there, because he actually, well, his parents would go. His parents would go off to Toronto for the weekend and leave him and his sister, like at 15 years old, running the restaurant. So yeah, he was kind of a larger than life character there. I guess he used to say that the railroad guys would see how many level crossings they could block at the same time. Simultaneously, like the engineers played this game where they tried to see how many of the intersections they could block at the same time. So when you think that the trains couldn't possibly need to block all those intersections, I think you're right. I think they do it on purpose. I love hearing stories about that time though, just in that area. It's so fun. It's just so funny that of all the small towns in Northern Ontario, it would be the one that my dad would have a connection into as well. I'm excited. Our next reader actually just wandered in off the street. He saw the sign and came down, and this is how we suck people in. So please join me in welcoming our next reader, who did not know he was going to be reading when he came out this evening. Please join me in welcoming Andrew.
Yeah, actually, this should work. Should be fine. Hello. I literally found out about this place like half an hour ago. I didn't even know this existed. I just saw the sign and I was like, that's the place for me tonight. So I'm going to read you a poem. Let's see, where is it here? Where is it? I'm going to read you a poem. It's called Nothing Close to Friends. I wrote this about my wife after the second date we went on together. The first date was a dud because I was nervous and she was nervous, and so we learned nothing about each other. But then the second date happened, and it was kind of a wild experience. So when I asked her to go out the second time, she had told me that she had studied in Toronto. And I was like, okay, that's great. But then my priest, because I'm an Orthodox Christian, he told me, oh, by the way, this dead guy who's a saint is going to be in Toronto. You should go. And I'm like, well, why not? So I called her up and I said, hey, you want to see a dead guy? And she's like, yeah, let's see the dead guy. So I go to her place in a suit. She's in a dress. We go to the Russian Orthodox Cathedral. We see the dead guy, and then we're just walking back. And I was so surprised because I knew she was very introverted and very shy, and she doesn't like being around lots of people. And there was like 1,000 people in this room, and she just was there. And I was like, that's so cool. Someone's willing to go the extra mile for me. That's really exciting. And then we went to a Chinese restaurant and we sat down and I said, okay, I'm gonna order some things that you might like because I am Chinese and I like weird things. And so she's like, no, you order what you want. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna order the flaming hot barbecued pork intestine. And then I did that, but I didn't tell her what it was, so I ordered it. She ate one bite and she said, that's nice. And then for the rest of the night, she drank Coke because she was so it was too hot. The flames were coming out of her head. And as we're walking down towards the train, I asked her, did you have a good time? And she's like, yeah, I had a great time. I'm like, really? That's so cool. So then we're just walking down the stairs towards the subway. She just takes my hand and then she just never lets go. And then we walk onto the subway. I'm standing about this close to her. And I'm just like, okay, Andrew, if you don't make a move now, you're going to regret this for the rest of your life. So I asked her very politely, I was like, can I kiss you? And she's like, absolutely. And then we kissed on the subway. So that's the story. So then I got home to my apartment at 1 in the morning, and I stumbled in my suit, and I kicked it off and laid in bed, and I was like, oh, I got so many feelings. So then I wrote this poem. So here we go, Nothing Close to Friends. She reminds me of the clearest icy blue waters flowing wildly into the breach and swathing, turn over turn, churning yet gently heading to sea. She weaves where she wills, cutting through mountains of stone, icy chilled bone, fear even. I can't help but wonder if the gods are crazy. Well, in what way, say, would she and I collide? In a moment I was stung, venom pulsing, bleeding into my blood, and then she left me paralyzed. I am happy, I realized. To such heights I want to climb. I want to take your time and your hand. I want to know you. I want to see the roots that run deep, secrets never seen in the light of day. I want to know the heart of the wild, the spark you keep deep within. Our friendship reminds me of a brush fire burning out of control. Nothing can smother how I feel. Flames licking the trees, embers crackle, slowly filling my heart with love, threatening to burn the whole forest down, one promise at a time. Thank you.
It's beautiful. Just so you just like dove right in and never stopped. Usually when people write a first love poem, it's no good, and that was good. Yeah. That was really great. You got me thinking. Do you actually go see Russian Orthodox icons as well? Oh, yes. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's. I've often thought that if I ever decided to have a religion, it would be Eastern Orthodox, just because they've got the coolest stuff. One of my friends is Russian Orthodox, and she's every now and then they get to go see these like gorgeous gold glistening things, icons, and some of them like weep oil and crazy stuff like that. Please join me in welcoming our next reader. And this is another reader that I just absolutely love. She's been coming to my open mic since Toronto. And I always love the opportunity to hear her work. Please join me in welcoming Recipe Rose. That's the best way to go.
Hello, everyone. I was here, I think July, and if any of you were here, you might remember I had a folder of poems with me, and I would just reach in and kind of pick one out at random. Well, they're in a book now, yay! Unfortunately, that does mean I will be spending 6 of my 7 minutes trying to find my pieces in here, because I didn't put any sort of label on where I wanted to read. So good luck to me. Something's falling off. I did a great job. It is October, if you guys didn't know. So all of my pieces are going to be about the turning of the seasons, October, falling leaves, that kind of stuff. I thought it'd be very fitting. So the first piece I'm going to read is from my poetry collection, Supernova. It relates the life cycle of a relationship to the life cycle of a star, which is our sun. And the bulk of this collection was written September, October 2015. So I feel it's a very apropos time to pull this open and dive into some of my very first poetry pieces. There are 2 poems in here called Autumn, and so this is the second one, Autumn Again. It's the last poem in the collection. Today marks the final monument, the 13th calendar turn, and the day of the last goodbye. The rain, the leaves, the melancholy leaden sky, the street signs, and I live in new borders, with new people waiting to be met and new memories waiting to be made. You have moved on, and I will too, soon as tomorrow, as soon as right now. I smile. It's going to be a good year. Thank you. That was probably maybe like the 5th poem I wrote after moving to Toronto, and then every poem since then was written, obviously, after that. Mostly about Toronto, about moving back to Hamilton, about moving to Dundas, lots of places thrown in there. And the next one I'm going to read is about, was written in Toronto, there it is, actually, wow, about the change in season from summer to autumn, and how that kind of, for me, comes with like a melancholy feeling of, yay, like Christmas is coming and it's gonna look so beautiful, but I'm a summer gal at heart and I don't like the cold. So every time it's like September, I feel myself going, no, come back, stay. And then I feel like a clingy boyfriend or like ex-boyfriend who just doesn't want to go away. So I wrote this kind of from that perspective of like that guy on your phone that you just look and you're like, oh, leave me alone. So it's called Summer Flirts. It teases, dancing in and out, for a while. Sunny, then rainy, sunny, then rainy. It makes you wait with bated breath for it, get on your knees and beg for it, spend every waking moment thanking every god for it once it decides to give you a dance. Then summer spends your time with you. Summer spends its nights with you. Summer sets a schedule and departs with you, and you're just along for the ride. It's every day, but it's never long enough. 9 p.m. sunsets don't last forever, and you find yourself restless in those August double digits. You're calling more and more, asking summer to show up today, praying each day you spend with summer was enough for summer to want to stay, flinching at every leaf you see fall to the ground, hoping that sheer desire alone could turn back the clock to when you met summer. But in the end, summer leaves because you gripped it a bit too tight. Thank you. I don't know why I closed it. I need to keep going. The next one, I thought it was this one because they look very similar. There it is. This one was written on a Greyhound somewhere northeast, which is like there's a little closing message after each poem. And it's about watching like the leaves fall outside of the window, expecting things to not go so great, but kind of hoping they'll go a little bit better. For me, the falling leaves always kind of signal like a doom impending, partly because I'm a summer gal and Ontario spends so much of its time in cold. So I feel like those emotions come out in this one called Orange Leaves. This drive to you makes me regret every harsh word I ever said about October and its death. This drive to you, it makes me fret. I'm filled with excitement and yet with dread. Could I stay on this road forever instead? This drive to you of orange and red is as lovely as you and as burnt in my head as all these words I've left unsaid. This drive to you, like when we met, leaves me awestruck and just as dead as the falling leaves of orange and red. Thank you. Thank you. And I don't remember what the 4th one was gonna be. So maybe I'll just pick one for fun. Oh, I remember. Okay, sorry. I picked these like while running for the bus, so my head's a little bit of a mess. Oh, there it is. Oh, I can see it. Okay, so this one's called Tree Surgery. I'm going to define one of the first words used in it. Marcescence is the name of what happens when the leaves turn orange. And this poem is called Tree Surgery. Words are marcescent leaves. They pile at your feet, wiped from your shoulders in obstinate disregard. In self-preservation, you have eroded the soil, and soon the bark will begin to weep. I shake my head. It is all there is left to do. I have been clearing the dead leaves, but the illness is in the roots. Thank you so much.
You've got to tell us about the house, the work that you wrote to your house. I was trying to remember. Because you wrote poetry to the house that you used to live in, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That was such a cool thing too. I just love that every time you read, I hear like a pocket of poetry that I didn't know anything about before. That's lovely. Another round of applause for Riz. And now the first performer who arrived tonight, who was judicious and let herself come up a little bit later. I'd like you to join me in welcoming Kara.
I feel like I should have hugged. I'm sorry. I didn't want to hug your can. Oh, okay. Because I was going to spill it on you. Oh, okay. Yeah, I told myself I'd take my glasses off so I couldn't see anybody, but I actually can't see any of you anyway. Yeah, so my name's Kara. I'm a Hamilton-based writer. I mostly write horror when I write fiction, so I guess content warning if you're scared. Okay. How about we begin here? Feet pounding on the pavement, her breath rasping, the ripping of rubber on the road, scattering gravel, and then the ground, the cold, the wet, the sticky, and playing in the air above, Bette Midler. Some say love, it is a razor that leaves your soul to bleed. And then there was the table, of course, where she was laid out and still tacky with blood, and the scientist kept saying, "Stay still, or you'll make it worse." She tried to stay still, but he was jamming her with spikes and picks, and there were tubs and vats and vials of smelly, different-colored liquid all around, and the deep baritone rumble of a big dog, and barking and barking and barking. "Silence, Prometheus!" Her body jerked on its own, all nerve and convulsion. She wasn't struggling. Her mouth was yammering nonsense, and there was no pain, though. It's one of life's little mercies. "Hold on," the scientist cried, and she couldn't hold on to anything. She was limp and she was twitching, and he flipped a switch, the world went white, and rebirth. "I have solved the mystery of life," the scientist ranted in the laboratory beneath the hardware store. "God no longer holds his secrets from me. Of course, no experiment is perfect. There are things that I would go back and change if I could build you again. It wasn't a perfect resurrection. You're still breathing. Your heart was still beating. But you lived, my dear. You are my most treasured, my creation, my dolly." Sorry, there's an issue with my Google Doc. For the first year, Dolly couldn't say anything to the contrary. Her windpipe was crushed. The only thing she could make was a wet, sucking wheeze, and the scientist hated hearing it. It got on his nerves. "Breathe quieter, Dolly, I'm working." And her hands were too clumsy to hold a pen, but he would let her type out messages on the clunky white desktop sometimes. He didn't have much patience for what she had to say, though, asking where she was and why he made her, if she was dead, etc., etc. Most of the time, Dolly was upstairs behind the counter of the hardware store in her baseball hat and her turtleneck, holding out a debit machine and struggling to count change. "Poor girl," the customers would say. "I heard that dog attacked her. It was a character assassination on a helpless dog because Prometheus wouldn't hurt a fly." Dolly was laid out on the work table again, being re-embalmed with her magic goo when the scientist said he had a present for her. "Don't squirm," he warned. "Open up." She said, "Ah," but it came out as one of her weird gurgling noises. The scientist dug his hand in, and he was pulling and tugging and pushing something wet and jiggly, and then there was sewing, and then there was struggling to tie a knot, and strange tools and zaps and zapping, and she coughed and hacked, and when he let her sit up, Prometheus was growling in the corner. "Well," he said, "try it out, say something." At first, it was wheezing and gurgling and awful goopy sounds, but slowly she could make out a few syllables. She groaned. The scientist began to cry his fat, wet tears. Yes, yes, Dada, I am your Dada. She wasn't trying to say anything, she was just moving air through the new chords, but he said, if you can talk, then by God you can learn. He began teaching her everything he knew about electric zaps and magic and life-giving goo. He created the goo all by himself, you know, and taught her how to make it. All the while, she had to teach herself how to talk again. And the words came out rough and sometimes made no sense at all. And her tongue was misshapen from what felt like a big missing hunk. The scientist dove into training Dolly in all the mysteries of life. She learned science, she learned alchemy, she learned sewing, embalming, necromancy, and how to make a perfect baked meringue. The lessons were relentless from morning till late at night. Cauterize the wound, he would demand. Whip the yolks with a lighter touch. Dolly began to dream in the second year of her new life, where she was running in front of a 2007 Dodge Durango on a dark road, and the scientist was running in the yellow tunnel of light in front of her, every time she woke up humming the rose, feeling so close to freedom, before returning to her lessons. But how can you learn from someone who only seems to fail? They tried bringing back birds and mice and cats, and in one disastrous afternoon, a very rabid coyote. All the creatures would come back for a minute or two, lumber around clumsily in confusion, or in the case of the coyote, in a frothing rage, and then they would fall to pieces. Clean it up, I can't look at it, the scientist would snap. He was often disgusted by his work when all was said and done, and sometimes Dolly, when she lost her fingers or coughed up a piece of lung, wondered if he was disgusted with her too. And then the scientist brought home the man. He was frail, he had a patchy beard, he had purple skin. Can you believe my fortune? There I was, walking in the woods near the power plant, and I found this fellow. I believe he touched the electric fence, or he just killed over. He's warm to the touch, see? He did not seem warm to the touch. I believe he is dead, she croaked. The scientist ignored her, pulling out his chalk and wand and elixir. A friend for you, he said. You can teach him everything I've taught you. Bad idea. The scientist heard her that time. Well, good thing it isn't up to you, or you would be full of worms in the All Saints Cemetery. I was Catholic. That time, he heard nothing. They took the man's insides out, they pumped him full of goo, they read him spells in other tongues and zapped him until his hair smoked, but all they managed to do was draw out a long, low moan from him. It is the air that is left in the lungs, she rasped. We are so close, my Dolly, I can feel it. He took the electric prod and shoved the metal spike deep in the man's side, piercing between the ribs. Pull the switch! Dolly used both arms to pull the lever down. Lightning crashed and zapped, and both of their hair stood on end. The man convulsed and shook, and poof! He exploded into chunks. Hours later, Dolly was using the broom to peel the man off the ceiling, and she was muttering to herself, he never listens. He thinks I'm an idiot. But he was the idiot. Yes, he brought her back from the brink of death, but maybe he could have taken her to a hospital. And the more she thought of it, the more suspicious she was of the dent in the scientist's 2007 Dodge Durango. She sloughed a bucket of flesh and Fabuloso up the basement stairs through the darkened hardware store to the toilet in the back office. Dolly flushed, and the water rose higher and higher until it spilled all over the floor, making a big, soupy mess all over her bare feet. She banged her head on the wall over and over and over as the mess got bigger and bigger. What have you done? The scientist shrieked. The toilet overflowed. Dolly, this is obscene and it stinks. Oh my God. She glared at him from the deep black pits of her bloodshot eyes. Then you do it. What did you say? You clean it. You made the mess. You clean it. Unbelievable, the scientist said, grabbing the mop from where it rested against the back wall. You go to your room if you're going to be a brat. I'm not a kid, she said, and I hate you. He gasped, covering his hand with his mouth. You be quiet, he said. To your room, now. She stomped past him, knocking the mop out of his hand. Egregious, he shouted. Very, very bad, Dolly. In her room, she pouted and brooded and thought about chasing him with the 2007 Dodge Durango, or throwing her shoes at him, or burning his spell books, or lighting the oil cans on fire in the hardware store. Instead, she wailed into her pillow, crying fat, nasty-smelling tears, and fell asleep. In her dream, she was a prom queen, and she had a university scholarship, and she had all of her hair and all of her teeth. We love you, Dolly, people cried. You're not gross, not even a little bit. But when she woke up, she was still gross. I hate my life. And she hated the man who gave it to her. It was before dawn, and all was still. She stalked down the stairs into the shuttered hardware store. The aisles were lit only by the dull red light of the emergency exit signs. Dolly took an axe from the shelf and popped off the safety guard. She went back upstairs. He was sleeping peacefully on the floor. She raised the axe and dropped it. Thunk. Not a rustle, not a whisper. Dolly stuck the blade of the axe, now wet with blood, into the hardwood and dragged his big body down into the basement. Hours later, the scientist came out of a deep sleep to the sound of dripping. He shuffled into the living room floor and found the pool of blood on the floor, the axe dug into the hardwood in the spot where Prometheus slept, and a stain dragging down. "Insolent, terrible creature," he shouted, following the trail. The blood streak led him through the hardware store, down to the basement. He opened the door, and a heavy rush of hot air pushed his hair back. "What have you done?" he said, stomping down the stairs. A flash of white light, the sound of the electric lever snapping on, and the hair on his arms and head stood up, skin tingling. He stopped at the bottom of the stairs. Dolly was in his lab coat, his black leather gloves pushing the sleeves up past her elbows. Her hair stood on end, and the dark rings around her eyes made the light in them all the more maniacal. And on the table, Prometheus was stitched back together, wagging his tail. He licked Dolly's face and hopped off of the work table. "I've done it," she cried in her raspy little voice, looking at him. "You didn't think I could. You thought I was stupid, but I did it. I created life." The scientist stood in the stairwell, his hand over his heart. He tried to speak, but he was too verklempt. Oh, he was a crier. He crossed the room with his arms outstretched and hugged his girl tightly to him. "Congratulations, my Dolly. I always knew you could, my perfect, my sweet," he choked out. "Now, clean up this mess. We have more work to do." And that was it. That was based on a dream. My dad is a funeral director, and I had a dream where he brought me back to, that was all. All right, thank you.
I have not had many stories that finished with "my dad is a funeral director" and back to life. That was awesome. I've met a surprising number of funeral directors in my life. I'm not entirely certain why, but that was wonderful. That was great. Another round of applause for Kara. And now another person who I have no idea what he's going to do, and I'm excited because it could be anything. Please join me in welcoming back to the stage Mahmoud.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So I'm trying to read. I like reading, and especially poems. I tend to read more old school poems. Tend to be rhymes. I like them. And recently, I tried to read more modern ones. So I couldn't write like I read. I tried to write in my native tongue, which is Uyghur, but in English I try to it's very different poem, like articles, essays, or short stories. It's much easier, but poems is in different languages is very difficult. So instead, I try to read some poems of other authors. One is by Dylan Thomas. He's a Welsh poet, lived 100 years ago. And another one is by Eric Rittenberry. He's actually living maybe around 30 years old. He lives in Florida. Okay, so the first poem is by Dylan Thomas. It's called "Do Not Go Gently Into That Good Night." Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end, now dark is right, because their words have forked no lightning, they do not go gently into that good night. Good men, the last way by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men, fuck, sorry. There is some issue with my phone. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight, and learned too late. They grieved it on its way. Do not go gently into that good night. Gray men near death, who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gently into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Thank you. Another one, this one is by Eric Rittenberry. It's called To Live is to Be Madly Alive. To live is to be alive, and to be alive is to defy the unlimited moralizers and the cyber prophets who harbor the relentless compulsion to preach the trendy ideologies of the day. To be alive is to carry destiny with the hands of fate and become worthy of your vanishing breath in the great adventure of death. To be alive is to depart from the safe shores of ordinary and heave yourself into the sheer surging of life, to reclaim what it means to be a human again, to atone for the sin of our unraveling. To be alive is to be your own authority, your own teacher, your own leader, to be a pioneer of your own life, adventuring onward towards the primordial flame in the dark, never letting them hush your eternal throb. To be alive is to not only love your solitude, but to bring forth the treasures only found in solitude, to follow that creative urge regardless of convention and public opinion. To be alive is to roam and wander through the meadows and over the mountains, to be sojourn forever in search of the sublime, to be radically present as the trees rustle in the afternoon wind, to live in each season as it passes, in the words of Thoreau, and breathe the air, drink the drink, taste the fruit, and resign yourself to the influence of the earth. To be alive is to escape from the dungeon of dead dogmas and decrypt creeds and to yield to the subtle whispers of the neglected part of your secret essence. To be alive is to plunge into the medieval depth and recapture the authentic light of your own being, to unmask your divine madness and dance once again with the unimaginable rapture in the vast mass heap of this fallen world.
That second poet was a contemporary American poet? Yes. That was great. I don't know him, so I'm going to have to check that out. That's I love that basically discovering English poetry through the eyes of somebody whose English is a second language for. I love that. Thank you so much, Mahmoud. Thank you. That was great. And we're welcoming back another poet. Poet? I can't remember what you wrote. I can't remember either. Yeah! Please join me in welcoming Lil.
Can't see anything. Okay, so this is my actually first time here. And I'm going to do some works that involve audience participation. So I need you guys, I can't see if I can get close, away from the microphone. So the first one, I need you guys all to say, I'm sorry. So let's hear it. I'm sorry. Beautiful. Okay, the poem is called How to Say Sorry in Canada. Okay? And I will cue you when it's time for your line. All right. In Canada, small things are always your fault, even if they aren't. So when people brush past you aggressively, you say, I'm sorry. When someone steps on your toe accidentally, you say, I'm sorry. When the cashier Bill, you say,
I'm sorry.
In Canada, things have feelings. So when you drop the soap in the shower, you say,
I'm sorry.
To the soap. True, right? Like I heard you. When you trip on the rug, you say,
I'm sorry.
To the rug. When you make a mistake on your computer, you say,
I'm sorry.
To the computer. Finally, in Canada, never apologize for big things that really are your fault. But you can apologize for historic injustices and abuses. It's always time for truth and reconciliation, as long as the abuse happened 100 years ago. Thank you. So this poem also involves audience participation. And I need you to say, don't touch me. Let me hear you.
Don't touch me.
Okay, so don't touch me was a prompt. A prompt is you get a suggestion for a poem, right? And the prompt was don't touch me. And I right away thought of all the creepy people that might lead to me saying this. But then I thought, humans aren't the only ones being creeped out. So first we'll say, don't touch me, and then the second part is, touch me. Okay. So, don't touch me, said the mountain to the clouds. When you're around, I feel invisible. Don't touch me, said the tea bag to the steaming water. When you're around, I lose myself.
Don't touch me,
said the ball to the racket. It seems that you're just playing with me.
Don't touch me,
said the trees to the wind. When you're around, I get shaky.
Don't touch me,
said the hair to the brush. You just want to tease me.
Don't touch me,
said the shore to the wave. I never know whether you're coming or going.
Don't touch me,
touch me, said the pine needles to the breeze.
Touch me,
said the nectar to the bees.
Touch me,
said the church floor to the knees.
Touch me,
said the keyhole to the keys.
Touch
me, please. All right, that's good. Those are the fun ones. Now I got the serious ones. I've been wanting to write poems that work, that have work to do. So this one's called This Poem Fights for Freedom. This poem is for women and men in unsatisfying marriages. This poem is for women and men in dangerous marriages, for anyone who is turned off by their partner, who does not want to cuddle and giggle with their partner, or desperately wants to, but their partner would rather do something else. This poem is for women who feel constrained and criticized as soon as their husband enters the room. This poem is for men and women who feel criticized and constrained even when their spouse is nowhere around. Even when their spouse is nowhere to be found, they still feel criticized, rejected, dismissed, judged, devalued. By husband, I mean committed partner. By spouse, I mean committed partner. Even if you're not sure anymore what you're committed to, you're aware that on some level, every relationship is a deal, even if you're not sure what the deal is. Was the deal that you put up with whatever is thrown at you, even if it's a hammer? This poem is for those who feel unheard, for people who need a poem to tell them to leave, to plan your escape, look for a safe house, start a secret bank account, find others who will help, refuse to be isolated, do whatever you need to start your life over. Thank you.
Lil. Thank you. I love the idea of like forcing poems to do work. Yeah. Those poems have lots of work to do. We have one more reader or performer for the evening, so please join me in welcoming Brandy.
I so appreciate it. Yeah. All right. Yes, the lights. I have had the privilege. I'm not microphone compatible. I'm just gonna give it to you. Thank you. This is great. I feel like we have had a nice little callback to summer between you and Riss. I feel like I thought we were going to get a lot of just autumn and Halloween performances tonight. So I'm really happy to have had a little bit of a callback to the warm weather. That was nice. Another round of applause for Brandy. Thank you so much for coming down. I was going to be so impressed with all the things that you did in that first one, too. That was great. We do have a couple more performers, and I'm really excited to bring up, CFTA's own Dexter Eco.
Another round of applause for Jen Frankel. I have a lot of writings everywhere. I'm very scatterbrained. I'm compelled to tell you a story that I haven't shared out loud. I'm concerned about time, so I'm just going to breeze through this as fast as I can. It's about a person who almost killed me and who saved me from almost killing someone else. It takes place in elementary school, grade 8. Do you guys ever play the fainting game? Where you exhale, inhale, like going up and down. Anyway, the story's about this friend, Lenroy Bennett. We got out of class to go into the washroom so he could do the fainting stunt on me. Didn't know what it was, just followed instructions, exhaled, inhaled a few times till I got lightheaded, held my breath, pushed against my chest. Last thing I see is him smiling in my face, and then I fainted. Wake up, I got this unicorn bump on my head. Go to the principal's office. I remember Mrs. Powell, she came, she was my music teacher, and she sat me down, she said, "Dexter, who did this to you?" I said, "No one, I did it to myself." She goes, "Don't lie to me, I know you played the fainting trick thing." Someone that I knew died from that, and don't ever do that again. I'm like, "Thank you, Ms. Powell, it will never happen again." Next year, high school. I'm in Mississauga. I used to live in Etobicoke. I thought I would move there by myself, didn't know anybody. Apparently, Lenroy was there. Being new to the school, I got bullied a lot. And I had to bully the bullies. This one bully, Navtej, I remember Navtej, he would make fun of me. He would call me Poindexter. He goes, "Oh, look who's here, it's Poindexter." With such emphasis and shaming me. People would laugh. Until I stood up for myself and asked Navtej, "Who is Poindexter? Why should I be embarrassed?" Didn't have an answer. Use it against him. Aha! You don't know what you're talking about. Navtej, what kind of name is Navtej anyway? Blah, blah, blah. Then I got this big ego of me because I bullied a bully and they couldn't face me anymore. So then I started bullying other people in gym class. One of them was Mike Tran, who didn't deserve me making fun of him or exerting my aggression towards him. In the middle of class, he's like, "Fuck you, Dexter." I forgot what I said to him. And he said, "Let's take this outside." I said, "Fine, let's go fucking go. Let's go, let's do this." So we scheduled time because this is back before social media, phones and everything, and people knew about fighting. There was a code, a secret code that you knew that you allowed people to fight to a certain extent when you realized, that you're going too far. So we planned to meet at a plaza. And in this plaza, there was Little Caesars, there was a hair salon, and a convenience store. And for some reason, we decided to fight in front of the salon, where people are getting their hair done. And everyone that we knew from the school came. It was a big deal. It was on the news. This was Facebook back then. Dexter and Mike Tran are gonna fight in front of the hair salon at the plaza. I'm like, oh yeah, there was a big lineup of kids walking. Again, I'm 15 years old. And I was excited because I'm getting all this attention and didn't have any friends really. And I didn't really talk to Lenroy. He was just a guy I knew. The one thing that we had in common that I sensed but didn't know is that he had an abusive father. I had an abusive father. I think abuse was just common back then. Boys would just get the shit kicked out of them, slapped, whipped, because all my friends said the same thing. Like, oh yeah, your dad kicked you in the ass? Yeah, he fucking beat me to the ground. I'm like, oh, me too. Okay, so I guess that's normal then. No, it might have been normal back then for us, but it wasn't right. With him, he had that exception, that special thing of like, I connect with you some way, but I'm not your friend, but I know you. Back to the story of in front of the salon. We're all there, and I'm all excited, and Mike Tran comes in full force towards me while I'm just celebrating the attention I'm getting from everybody. Like, oh, hi, everybody. How's it going? He's like, fuck you, Dexter. Boom! Punches me right in the face. I'm like, what the fuck was that? Oh, right, it's a fight. I'm on the ground. He picks me up. He's punching me in the face. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then it kicks something in, this beast mode in me as a kid. Because I got used to getting beat up, so I'm like, you know what? No fucking way. Grabbed him, smashed his head against the parking lot brick thing. You know when you park your car and there's that concrete curb thing? And I started just hitting him on, and then he gets up, I punch him in the face, and I'm like, okay, great. Now I'm really pissed off. So I grab Mike, put him under my arm, grab him by the back of his pants. Salon with people getting their hair done. I aim his head towards the salon to smash him into the window, not thinking at all. Out of nowhere, Lenroy Bennett, God save, I love this man. He comes up, he jumps in front of the window, blocking it with his stomach, and Mike's head hits his stomach, and he looks at me, he goes, Dex, what the fuck are you doing? At that moment, cop car pulls up, screeches its wheels, blares its horn and lights, says, hey, kids, everybody just scrambles and we take off. What that did for me was solidified my reputation throughout all these high schools, that Dexter is the guy you don't fuck with. Mike never looked me in the eye. Lenroy Bennett, I never really spoke to him. All I knew that he was troubled, and the last thing I heard of that he was stabbed a few times at our high school, and I never really got to thank him. But something tells me that that would have sent me down a path that would not take me to this place right now. I would have been a different person. And it's kind of backwards because he almost killed me. Yet, funny thing, he also kind of saved me and my reputation. So wherever you are, Lenroy Bennett, I know you're not on social media. I still remember you, and thank you for manning up and protecting someone else. And that's principle. He was acting on principle. You don't do that. Thank you. Thank you for listening, everyone.
There's a psychologist that I follow. I think you'd really love to read his stuff. He wanted to understand why some people become violent and become repeat violent offenders and are unable to stop being violent, and other people don't follow that path all the way to its logical conclusion. So he actually studied, he studied people that grew up the same way he did, because he knew that in his friend group, some people had become repeat violent offenders and some people had escaped that, and he wanted to understand why he was one of the people who hadn't become a badass, like a guy who just solved all his problems with violence. And I bet it would be interesting to find out if there was Lenroy, there'd be like a Lenroy in his life too. But you should check out Lonnie Athens and the theories on violentization. There's some really interesting stuff that he wrote. Lonnie Athens, yeah. Yeah, because he actually traces a series of things that have to happen to you for you to become a repeat violent offender who solves all your problems with violence and no longer has the ability to solve problems in other ways. And one of and a lot of it is about socialization. Like a lot about it is about, for example, you get the crap beaten out of you, or you see someone else get the crap beat out of them, and you're rewarded for not saying anything. Or you try to beat somebody else up for the first time and it doesn't work, and your reaction to that is to, you could have a couple of different reactions to not being successful. You could be more determined to beat somebody else up next time, or you could give up that as a way to solve your problems. So just like just what you were talking about was just like a microcosm of the kind of things that he wrote. Anyhow, that's just me going on. I study a lot about abnormal psychology because being a writer, that's my favorite thing. I think we just have one more reader or performer. Please join me in welcoming Sunshine. Sorry? Oh. Oh, that's even better. That's what I want to hear.
You look so much bigger from down there. And that's illegal. Perception problems. I kept debating. I mean, do I tell a joke? Do I tell a poem? What I decided to go with, I'm working on a book, and don't get that excited. I didn't study. It's more like this insane experience of being a cancer survivor, and that sort of, I sort of invented my own sort of writing style. I call it like jar and jump, because I wanted to create that really bizarre experience of you sitting there and being told, and then all of a sudden you're somewhere else, and then all of a sudden you're somebody's giving you books, and then all of a sudden you're in somebody's doing something to you, and then somebody else. It's a very, very odd experience, and you're living through it, and you're getting through it somehow, but something else bizarre happened. And as I was going through my chemo treatments, I had really bizarre dreams before, so this like just, I don't know, exploded, this crazy thing. And so I tried to capture some of those bizarre dreams. So I was like, I don't know what to tell you. Should I do the sort of Kafka-esque thing, or should I do the actual cancer thing? So,
you can do one now and then come back next time and do the second one.
Exactly.
That's how it works.
Okay, so chapter 1, called, maybe I should sit. Nothing like a passed out black woman, but untethered and into deliverance. So it's like I love this duality thing. So Untethered is what she goes through when she finds out that she has cancer, and Deliverance is this magical experience that she has when she goes to sleep that night, where she meets her lover and she has all these powerful powers and superpowers, and she can go Magnus and create really cool super things. But first, we got to get her there. Untethered. I stood at the bus stop. My mind was in a daze, lost. I tried and failed to bring my mind into focus. It just seemed to be reliving the same thoughts. The doctor said I had breast cancer, right? I scratched my head as if it brought clarity to my thoughts. Yes, that was the diagnosis. I remember sitting there shivering. I felt the room was cold. Did anyone else feel cold? All I could see was the white walls as all manner of cleaning fluids filled my nose like every other hospital. My daughter seemed angry. She sat there silently. It felt like it was a long time ago. In fact, it was just 30 minutes. My life had changed in 30 minutes, 30 very long minutes. I just sat there as the doctor had talked and talked. Carmen, we will start with chemo, blah, blah, blah. And the medical surgeon, she spoke in low, hushed tones, as if by speaking in low, hushed tones would somehow change the shocking realization of my current condition. My hand unwittingly grasped onto her wooden desk as she patiently explained my situation. Why couldn't I remember what she had said? I laid my head against the cool glass of the bus shelter. It was all I could do to stay present. I heard the voices of the others around me, smelled the stench that came off the exhaust of passing trucks, cars, buses, that incessant beeps and honking. I walked into that tiny, cold, congested doctor's office, a normal person. I had a life, a purpose, a future. I walked out and an invisible cancer patient. My hands were wrapped around the many pamphlets and books the doctors had given me. I held them so tightly, the pages went all bent. I held them as if they were my only thread to life, a lifeline. Fear, like heat, rose in my belly. I looked down at for the millionth time to make sure it was... To make sure I still had them all. Won't know until the surgery, of course. That's when we will see where the cancer actually is and how much help the chemo has given us. Hopefully, it will have blah, 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 continued the medical surgeon. The memory of the doctor's voice turned a hole in my brain. I rubbed my temples, walked past the guide that helped every single patient out of their car safely with a smile on his face. What was his name? My fingers kept trying to remember. Snap, snap, snap. What was his name? My hands brushed across my forehead, tugging gently. My mind was too full. I could hear my heartbeat as though the organ responsible resided in my ear. Had the bus gone by? I hadn't seen the bus. Was I even present? Where had I gone just then? A feeling of confusion and sweat, distress, panic swelled in my throat. And for a moment, I thought I felt a dry heave. Why, oh why, is my stomach, my hand came to it and rubbed and then fell back to my side. The others waiting at the bus, they stared at the weirdo with the books in her hand who leaned against the wall of the bus shelter for comfort. I had temporarily disassociated, but it all came back flooding. A tear leaked out of the outer corner of my eye. My daughter, as soon as we had exited the building, she had begun. She was angry and scared, and she had to get it out. I knew. I wish it wasn't today. I remembered every detail of that as she approached Her nose flared as if she could smell the hospital antiseptic residue. The odor had marked or tagged me in some way, a classification. The look of disgust was all over her face, like she could smell the cancer cells growing inside me. She leaned against the stall, looking down at me. Am I going too long? Okay. She leaned against the stall, looking down at me as she began, like her words had belonged to somebody else. Well, you're a fool if you believe the doctor. My mom, the walking contradiction, who's supposedly spiritual, but doesn't understand the basic law of attraction, her tone exasperated, air blasting out of her flared nostril. It's completely your fault. How long had I told you you needed to change your lifestyle? You smoke, you drink, you won't even go for a walk down the street. I looked into her eyes, timid, unsure of what to say. The sweat in my hands that I kept wiping into the side of my pants. I dared not reach out and touch her, lest she felt infected by my low vibrating cancer-creating vibrations. But I would never let it show. I'm sorry, I rang out, finally, at the top of my voice, though I thought I felt a crack. What was I actually apologizing for? The way I lived my life or how it turned out? I wasn't sure. Do you realize how difficult you made my life? It's always something with you. Her fingers stabbed into punctuating every word in the air like it could stop my very breath. Well, I want no part of it this time. There was a murderous look in her eyes as she spoke. My body began to tremble. I shrank back, away from the judgment, away from the venom, away from the mistakes I had made over the years. All the years spent thinking, one more conversation, one more explanation. Well, we were out of time for one more time. Is that good?
Is that a good place to stop? That's
Thanks.
fantastic.
Thank you.
The power of that. You've got to keep writing that book. You've got to keep writing that book. Yeah, we've got to read that. That's just. Thank you. Another round of applause for Sunshine. What a powerful place to leave the evening, too. That was just amazing. I just can't get over feeling how blessed I feel to have all the different people reading different things, different performances, different tracks of mind. I feel so blessed to have been in this group tonight, just to get to hear everybody. Thank you so much, everybody, and I hope you'll come back next month and see what happens. Because, is there anything? Oh, yeah, and please, if you, as you're going out, if you feel like leaving something on the video, that would be wonderful. Leave like a little video message. Anything at all. Thank you so much. A big round of applause for everybody who helped tonight. Thank you, everyone who came out.